Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Restricted Republic. My name is Justice, and I can't thank you enough for being here. I actually went back and re-recorded the beginning of this video because I think it needed a bigger catch. What I'm talking about is what you've seen in your morning headlines. That's right. The Senate went ahead and passed that near 6,000-page stimulus bill. Cost of your freedom? $600. And why do I say that? Well, because you've been deceived again. I'm not discrediting the fact that many people need that money. According to the government, even those that have retained their jobs need that money. But you see, it's the little hidden bits within this bill that will not only have you scratching your head, it will have you seeing red. Like if you've ever gone to the horse races and you know some of those horses take painkillers, well, somehow there was the necessity to include that within these 6,000, nearly 6,000 pages. Don't believe me? By the time you're done watching this broadcast, you'll realize why nobody could have possibly read this. Well, they didn't give them time to. But we've all been deceived again. Because if it was really about we the people, then why did you send money to Sudan, Israel, and many other countries? When you see how much, you'll understand why so many of us are absolutely up in arms. Before we go any further, if you haven't subscribed to me on this platform, I certainly hope you will. If you can help me share the video, that's truly what allows this channel to grow. Also, you know I don't ask for donations. Rather, I provide you something in return. That's restrictedrepublic.com. Uncensored, unfiltered, no commercials. We put all our videos there, both Lisa Haven and I, so you can watch them uninterrupted, including the exclusive content of material that can truly only be presented in the correct manner at restrictedrepublic.com, your one source for the news that truly matters right now. 14 days free, simply for signing up, plus $20 off. Use 20 off the discount code, get $20 off the annual subscription. That promotion will be gone quickly, but now let's get on with this broadcast. So as I mentioned, the fine print that existed in the first bill, as published here on the New York Times, exists within the second bill. I'm going to give you one quick example before we get into the horrible elements of this stimulus bill. Let's take one example of what they slid in that is absolutely no benefit to anybody trying to recover from COVID-19. One of those things that they put in this stimulus bill is new, well, let's call it copyright claim infringement law. So those users on Twitch or those who are creators on YouTube will now be under something called the CASE Act, Copyright Alternative and Small Claims Enforcement Act, another branch of government to help litigate those small claims, as they call them, those little details of $15,000, let's say, around to $30,000. Well, for those small creators, those kids you see on the gaming platforms playing their games to their huge audiences, that becomes rather burdensome. And what's really burdensome is the second portion of the legislation, authored by Senator Tom Tillis. His provision provides that the Justice Department, they give the Justice Department capability of charging businesses with felony offenses for intentionally streaming of copyright material online. Well, every one of those games that those kids are playing are copyrighted material. They could now face a felony. That's going to help everybody get better from COVID, isn't it? I digress for a moment back to Congress passing this $2.3 trillion coronavirus relief bill, and I wish people understood what these measures are. If you haven't seen what the bill looked like, take a look here really quickly.
Is this the bill?
That's right. When you need a cart to carry a government bill, it's much too large. I mean, honestly, what do we need? We needed money for those who have lost their jobs. Of course, we gave money to everybody. We needed small business support for those ravaged by COVID-19. Of course, we gave money to everybody. And of course, we needed to prop up some of those programs that help those that are destitute without food. But of course, they did that for everybody, citizen and non. But we'll get there. House approves COVID measure 359 to 53. The no's came from Justin Amash, Tulsi Gabbard, and Rashida Tlaib. Now, of course, we get back to Nancy Pelosi, the nose far up in the air, can't even hide her contempt for humanity, and once again thumbs her nose at those little people below her. Of course, many would say unintentionally. But when you're that high up in your ivory tower, it's just so easy to look down on us poor little paupers, isn't it?
Also have in the legislation direct payments, which were not in the Republican bill, to America's working families. I would like them been bigger, but they are significant, and they will be going out soon.
They are significant $600 payments. In Nancy's world, that probably would maybe buy one pair of shoes. Significant. But we'll head back to the story published on Breitbart. Senate passes 6,000-page coronavirus relief and stimulus bill by a vote of 91-7. They needed 60 to pass the bill, seeing that they skipped parliamentary procedures in many ways, and not allowing anybody any time to read 6,000 pages, of course. But why would you want to? It's almost as if you're hiding stuff within the bill. Well, you are. Of course, if you ask the mainstream media, we'll take the Washington Post, for example. What did they cover as far as it relates to this $900 billion stimulus bill? But the other one said 2-point-some-odd trillion. But again, we'll digress because we're not supposed to watch those little slips and numbers, are we? The stimulus checks, of course, they cover that. They cover the jobless benefits, very important, not disagreeing with that. The relief for small businesses, once again, not disagreeing with that portion. They cover rental assistance, eviction moratoriums, money for vaccine distribution, school funding, all very, very important elements. Spending, nonetheless, and as, of course, we can get into a lot more detail of how government spending kills economic growth, even though they're saying this government spending doesn't kill economic growth, but we're not even going to have to do that right now. We'll get into VAT at the very end so people understand who's going to be paying for all this eventually, because when your gross domestic product is declining, it's hard for the government to pay any of this back. So that will come from you and me. Of course it will. But we'll go back to that stimulus check. That's the really critical element for so many people, that $600 cost to freedom. Because it's like buying people's silence in some ways. Because you see all these circles here, all these little relief package categories. Very critical. Once again, and I'll say 3 times, I understand people need this funding. I get it. However, if it didn't come with so many strings attached to it, you didn't realize it's like a fish hook. Once they got you, they're not going to let it go. So all these little bills that they cover, according to the congressional aides, as they say, is missing one circle. We'll put it about right here. And now we're going to rip into this package a lot further. We're going to rip into beyond just Nancy Pelosi, as they stated here. You know what's even better than giving us back our money? Pork to your friends. And astronomically increasing our debt. Opening up business and freedom would be a solution, which is the accurate answer. Open our businesses, let us take care of ourselves, and we'll be just fine. We don't need big government doing it for us. That just puts us in further debt and servitude. One step closer to socialism. But I digress. You know my position on that. So let's go through all these packages, shall we? First, to Nepal. $130 million. Wait now, how is that helping America? $130 million to Nepal. That can't be it, is it? Of course not. Family members of unauthorized immigrants are now eligible to get stimulus checks under the $900 billion deal reached last night. That eligibility, by the way, is retroactive. So adults excluded last time could get up to $1,800 now. Let's continue forward. Can't get worse, but it does. Ukraine gets $453 billion under our COVID relief stimulus bill. Or we could go to foreign military financing programs. The funds of, this is $3 billion, shall be available for grants. And let me just, because you can't see that number, it's down on the very bottom here. Grants only for Israel. I just want to make sure I read that number right. $3 billion to Israel under our COVID stimulus bill. I'll go back to full screen so you can read along with me through this agony. It lays out groundwork for the Climate Security Advisory Council. You can click on any one of these links. Study on Advisory Council model for strategic or transitional threats. And the Director of National Intelligence, in coordination with the heads of other elements of the intelligence community, determined appropriate by the Director, shall conduct a study on the effectiveness of climate security within our bill. It goes on to achieve the 2050 net zero emission clause. I mean, that was extremely critical to have within this legislation. You understand why so many are saying it's so heavy in pork spending. The COVID relief bill also includes $10 million for gender programs in Pakistan. $10 million for gender programs in Pakistan. Yeah, I'll keep repeating it because I was in shock and awe of so much of this. How about $700 billion to Sudan, $1.3 billion to Egypt? In the midst of our economic crisis, our government has found it more beneficial to support Sudan and Egypt than provide us money, more money to those that truly need it. At least then you could have sold this bill of goods, but nah. Technofog absolutely always catches everything. $600 for all your troubles, $135 million to Burma, $85.5 million to Cambodia, $1.4 billion to Asia Reassurance Initiative Act, and $130 million again to Nepal. Or how about $2 billion for Air Force missile procurement and related expenses? And you'll see the notations to each segment of the document here. There's so much it's hard to keep track of. Or $4 billion for Navy weapons procurement, or $2 billion for Space Force. Doing an incredible job so far on protecting the average American, as they always do. A massive spending bill loaded with pork, billions and billions to government agencies that receive normal budget allocations this year. They already have their spending bills approved. This is on top of those spending bills. $208 million to upgrade the Census Bureau's computer systems. I was dumbfounded the more I dug and got through this between climate security councils, everything else. But now you really want to be astounded? How about the COVID relief bill making it illegal to give racehorses painkillers before training or racing? This is the reality of our government. It is illegal to give racehorses painkillers before training or racing in our COVID stimulus We Will Save You package. COVID relief bill outlays funds to address gender equality amongst statues. Yes, gender inequality amongst statues. And people won't read this. They didn't allow them time to read this. They wanted to put this all in. The COVID relief bill also includes $193 million for federal HIV and AIDS workers stationed abroad to buy new cars. It relieves funding to discourage teenagers from drinking and hooking up. Deep-seated elements of this bill. And it goes on. That's not even a fraction of the lunacy that is COVID Relief Bill Part 2. But what's worse, wait, there's more. Biden actually says it's not enough. It's just a mere down payment. A down payment towards America's socialism. That's what that means. Because you can't keep up with this spending. The taxation that is coming shortly will be unbelievable. Because if you remember the disparity that happened between about 1960 and 1980, we made a huge jump in debt due to what's called a VAT tax, value-added taxes. When they started take a piece of furniture from start to finish, from the buying of raw materials, actually to the shredding of the raw materials, to buying the raw materials, to the manufacturer being taxed, to the store being taxed, to the consumer being taxed, and these taxes just kept adding up and up and up and made government bigger and bigger and bigger. And if you think that's going to diminish now, under the huge amount of pork spending, again, giving all our money away to every foreign government we can possibly find. Those of you who talk about the Great Reset are concerned about it. You are seeing how that's going to happen every single day now. Just watch how they locked down the UK the minute they said there's a super spreading event. Well, that's controlling the flow of money, the economies, the buying of selling of trade, to assure that each one of those economies, if they get a little bit out of whack, can be shut down, and again, re-equalizing those monetary systems. You're watching it happen. We can't continue to spend this amount of money. You can't without re-achieving it down the road, which is what they're going to do. If you think the VAT taxes were bad, the value-added taxes I just outlined, you have not seen anything yet. Listen to what Biden said. This was a mere down payment. But wait, when we had the cure and everybody was getting it, this was all going to go away, right? Just wait for that and everything will go back to normal. Normal is the last thing they are looking to achieve. So until next time, can't thank you enough for being here. If you haven't gone over to Restrict the Republic, please do. If you haven't subscribed to me here, I certainly hope you will. But most importantly, Godspeed and God bless. Until next time, Justice Knight, signing out.